Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. Good evening. I'm your anchor, John Smith. We have a complex and unfolding situation in the Middle East, with multiple countries involved in a decades-long conflict. Tonight, we'll take you through the latest developments, including the ongoing war in Iran, a blockade on its ports, and its impact on global food security. We'll also explore a surge in diplomatic efforts to find a ceasefire. From Lebanon to Pakistan, we'll break down the key talks and decisions being made to try and bring peace to the region. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a developing crisis is unfolding, with Iran's war with U.S. allies taking a dramatic new turn. Iran continues to defy the U.S. blockade of its ports, with at least 3 ships crossing the Strait of Hormuz despite the naval restrictions. Maritime tracking data indicates that these ships, including a Liberia-flagged bulk carrier and a Comoros-flagged tanker, were among several vessels that passed through the strait after the U.S. blockade came into effect on Monday. The ships were carrying cargo such as corn and methanol, and their routes suggest that they were attempting to circumvent the blockade. The U.S. blockade has been in place since Washington's relations with Tehran deteriorated following the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. The blockade has restricted Iran's access to the global shipping lanes, which has had a significant impact on the country's economy. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, has expressed hope that U.S.-Iran talks will restart, citing a meeting with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar as the indication for this. Guterres has stated that the talks would be essential for resolving the complex problems between the U.S. and Iran, and that a ceasefire would be necessary for the negotiations to be successful. The situation remains volatile, with many experts warning that the operating environment remains high risk for ships attempting to pass through the strait. Kepler, a maritime data provider, has noted that flows had already slowed significantly due to security concerns, and that it would be unrealistic to expect a long-lasting resolution in a single negotiating session. The U.S. and Iran have been engaged in indirect talks for several months, but a direct ceasefire has yet to be reached. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a quartet of influential nations is convening for emergency talks on the growing conflict in Iran. Foreign ministers from Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Egypt are set to meet with Turkey's top diplomat in Turkey this week to discuss tensions with Iran. The talks come as tensions in the region escalate following a breakdown in U.S.-Iran ceasefire negotiations in Pakistan. According to a ministry source, this is the third meeting of the 4 countries to discuss regional affairs, specifically not focused on the Strait of Hormuz. The breakdown in U.S.-Iran ceasefire talks last week centered on disagreements over the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has called for an end to the blockade, while Iran has refused, citing concerns over the impact on its economy. The talks in Pakistan ended without an agreement, with the U.S. and Iran unable to bridge their differences. The involvement of Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Egypt in the talks highlights the complexity of the issue. The 3 countries have long been critical of Iran's behavior in the region and have called for greater regional stability. Turkey, under President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has also expressed concerns over Iran's actions, particularly in Syria. The talks in Turkey this week aim to address these tensions and find a way forward on the Iran conflict. With the region on high alert, any agreement reached will be closely watched. The meeting is a significant development in the ongoing diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis. As tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East, the U.S. and Iran are now pushing for additional ceasefire talks amidst the ongoing maritime blockade. Good evening. I'm your name, and this is your news recap. The United States and Iran are set to resume peace talks, with the goal of finding a ceasefire agreement that addresses the ongoing tensions between the 2 nations. The current standoff began after a U.S. drone strike killed top Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani in January, prompting Iran to retaliate by launching missile strikes on U.S. military bases in Iraq. The U.S. responded by deploying additional troops to the region, further escalating the situation. Now, with the conflict showing no signs of de-escalation, the U.S. and Iran are looking to arrange a second round of peace talks in the coming days. According to reports, Tehran is considering a pause in shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway that separates Iran from the Gulf. This move could help ease tensions and pave the way for a comprehensive agreement on issues such as military presence, territorial disputes, and nuclear concerns. The talks are being led by U.S. Special Representative for Iran, Brian Hook, and his Iranian counterpart, Ali Akbar Velayati. The negotiations come as the international community urges calm and restraint from both sides. The blockade of Iranian ships in the Strait of Hormuz, which began in September, has disrupted global oil supplies and raised concerns about the long-term impact on the global economy. As the situation continues to unfold, it remains to be seen whether the US and Iran can find common ground and end the cycle of violence. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, the United Nations is sounding the alarm over the devastating impact of war on global food security and supply chains. A pressing concern for the world's developing countries is the fertilizer shortage caused by the ongoing blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. The International Trade Center's executive director, Pamela Cook-Hamilton, has sounded the alarm, warning that the situation is having a significant impact on global food security. A third of the world's urea, a crucial fertilizer, passes through the strait, which is being blocked by both Iran and the US. This has resulted in a significant delay in the planting window, with farmers now missing the optimal time to sow their crops. The fertilizer shortage is particularly concerning for developing countries, which rely heavily on imports to feed their populations. The United Nations has warned that the shortage will have a devastating impact on food security, with potential consequences for human security. Cook-Hamilton emphasized that while oil and gas exports from other regions can help mitigate the effects of the blockade, the immediate issue is the lack of fertilizer. The situation is further complicated by the fact that the planting window is now being missed, resulting in reduced yields and lower food security. The implications of the blockade are far-reaching, with potential consequences for global food markets and economies. The US and Iran have been locked in a bitter dispute over the region, with the US imposing sanctions on Iranian oil exports. The blockade has sparked concerns about the potential for widespread famine and food shortages, particularly in countries such as Somalia and Yemen, which are already struggling with food insecurity. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, a critical crisis is unfolding in a country that's struggling to stay afloat amidst the global fertilizer shortage. The ongoing Iran war has led to a global fertilizer shortage, with its effects being felt particularly acutely in India. A significant portion of the world's fertilizer trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been disrupted due to the conflict. As a result, India, a major agricultural producer, is struggling to access essential fertilizers. The shortage has been reported in several states, including Maharashtra, where fertilizer plants are operating at only half capacity. The shortage has severe implications for the livelihoods of millions of Indians who work in agriculture. Farmers, like 68-year-old Duttu Jatrashingra, are finding it increasingly difficult to access the fertilizers they need to grow their crops. Jatrashingra's 1.5-acre farm is his only source of income, and the shortage is threatening his livelihood. The situation is further complicated by the fact that the government has been unable to ensure a stable supply of fertilizers, leaving farmers like Jatrashingra to search for alternative sources. The shortage also raises concerns about food security in the region. With the world's population projected to reach 9 billion by 2050, the availability of fertilizers will become increasingly critical. The Iranian conflict highlights the interconnectedness of global trade and the potential for disruptions to have far-reaching consequences. As the situation in the region continues to unfold, it remains to be seen how the Indian government will respond to the fertilizer shortage and ensure that farmers have access to the essential supplies they need. That's all for today's news recap. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue to bring you updates on the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. If you want to stay informed, be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. We'll be back with more news and analysis soon. Until then, good night, and we'll see you in the next video.